I think we need a few titles. This is an old one.
We'd like to say that, in our opinion, it is not suitable for children or for those of you who may have a nervous disposition.
I went to Dewsbury winter before last, in the height of the energy prices going up, and spoke to an 84-year-old woman. Worked all her life, obviously now a pensioner.
This is how we used to start.
She doesn't get out of bed till midday because she didn't want to turn the heating on.
Yeah, it's awful.
And then when she did get out of bed, she had this sort of thermal jacket that she just wore all day long, so she didn't have to put the heating up.
And you know what he did, didn't you? He cut their energy thing. Now, what's going on today? So that came up by chance. I just clicked on one. It's actually a perfect one to have a look at, because today I've been looking at Margaret Thatcher, the greengrocer's daughter. I figured I hated that woman when I was in my teens and in my 20s, in my 30s, in my 40s, in my 50s, and now I'm 60 odd. But I started looking at some of her old stuff and some of her policies before her own party kicked her out. Now think where Tories are today. So back in the day, my parents were Tories. I think my father and definitely my wicked stepfather was a Tory. Mum was borderline. I think she just went along with it. I was a staunch Labour man. Right, I think we need, Les, can you put some little background music on, because it's a bit too quiet? Something a little bit nice. No, not that one, mate. That's better. Now, so I've got some notes here. First of all, Iron Lady, yes? Bear with me, don't leave me just yet, because we're going to get to some of this stuff. And we're going to see, is she the right lady for the job today if she was around? All right? I'm sort of trying Iron Lady, first of all. She was very, and she did do the speech therapy and everything, we know that. I also got my notes here, I've got to get it in context. I was a staunch Daily Mirror person. I read the Daily Mirror. Daily Mirror hated her, hated the Tories, everything. So already I'm being brainwashed. Would you agree? And if you read The Sun, you'd be brainwashed to hate Labour. And I was a staunch socialist without actually knowing what socialism is. Now, first of all, we'll get back to that fucking arsehole at the beginning, and let's have a look at the greengrocer's daughter on immigration. All right?
Those who are genuine refugees, and that is determined again by the United Nations, will not be returned. Those who are illegal immigrants, will be returned. And it is customary international law for countries to receive their own immigrants back into their country. And if he is, right honourable gentleman, is suggesting that we ever get to a position when you cannot return illegal immigrants to their country of origin, then he is proposing international chaos.
Right, first one, and she's talking to the opposition, which is Labour. Right? Strike one to Maggie. But the Falklands War, was that a pointless war? I think that was a pointless war. That was what got her re-elected. Everyone knew that from word go. Then we had poll tax. Oh, my grandparents so worried about the poll tax. Not just that, my grandfather's pension, because he was a very, very proud Navy man, 25 years, went through the Second World War to fight for the country, as so many people, our grandparents did back then. And they changed, to save money, they changed it from a Navy pension to an Army pension. And he came home one day and they gave him a new book, and he said, Gary, I fought for this country. I always remember he was almost in tears, and he said, I now have an Army pension, not a Navy pension. So that's strike one to me. That was a really bad one, really bad. Poll tax, again, as I said, poll tax, my grandparents were worried, paying money. They couldn't understand why have they got to start paying money to live in a country they fought for. Because both my grandfathers fought in the war, and the ladies were the backbone of the country, weren't they? When they were fighting over the war. So all of a sudden they got to pay to live in that country. We know where that ended. Poll tax, we all went on the marches, didn't we? And what happened there was Maggie Thatcher changed it to council tax. And you're still paying to this day. I need to come back on side with her, so I'm going to play another one. Let's have a look at another one. Let's have a look at another. I'm
In this
random.
country, we're more highly populated than either India or Pakistan. We have 6% unemployment. We cannot go on taking people at the rate we have been.
One more question. Does that mean that the heads of families who've been admitted here on the understanding and with at present the right to bring their children here may have that right withdrawn?
We want to know how many dependents have the right to come here. If it were 500,000, we just couldn't take them. That's what we're trying to do now. How many are entitled to come? That was why Mr. Whitelaw said get a register of dependents. That's why there's an independent all-party committee sitting on it now.
One more question.
Right.
Does that?
Wow, I'm randomly going through this stuff. So she's saying the system wouldn't cope if there was 500,000. There's now just illegal ones, 1.2 million, and she's saying then we couldn't cope. I think that's a strike for Maggie again, don't you? I'm starting to get into like this lady, as I say. Where's the other bad lady? I remember in the mid-80s when our local bins, you know, the bin men was disbanded. And there was a guy down our pub and he was the lorry driver on one of the carts, and he said, I've just lost my job, but I can reapply and I'll be on, what was it he said, a third of the money that I'm on now. And it was at Onyx or something. People in Lowestoft will know who. And all of a sudden we had this French name on the same bins. How the fuck does that work? So sometimes she really does make sense, but on the other, her policy to sell off the local dustman, and then a French company owned it, and I believe to this day a French company actually owns East Anglian Water, is not working for the people. So on one hand she's saying we've got to stop people coming in, on the other she's selling everything off. So I think we need to move on to another one. I like these. Let's have a look. What's she up to?
A court of law is the place where you deal with these matters. If you ever get trial by television or guilt by accusation, that day, freedom dies.
Wow. She's not wrong there. Trial by TV, we've had that quite a lot, haven't we, over the last few years? All right, Philip Schofield, I know, but legally he's done nothing wrong, and there was trial by TV on that one, wasn't there? That's just one. But she's not wrong on that, and you need the court of law. Her court of law is the English court. You've also now got, what is that? Shearer law. There's over 80 councils in the UK got their own law. What? So, is she the person for the job? I'm gonna have a look here. Yeah, the jobs she did. I remember Busby, you know, British Telecom. She sold that off, didn't she? She tried to sell it back to us, but the main bulk of people who end up buying these are big investors, aren't they, over abroad. She also sold off British Airways. You know, it's all our stuff. I need to go back to another one of hers, because I'm now swaying back against the lady. Let's just do another one. I don't know what. Let's have a look.
We've been ruled by men who live by illusions. The illusion that you can spend money you haven't earned without eventually going bankrupt or falling into the hands of your creditors. The illusion that real jobs can be conjured into existence by government decree like rabbits out of a hat. The illusion that there's some other way of creating wealth than by hard work and satisfying your customers. The illusion that you can have freedom and enterprise without believing in free enterprise. We've been ruled by...
Yeah, I get that. So in the early 80s I went self-employed, so that would sum up my parents and my wicked stepfather. I'll do a piece on him one day. He was a piece of work. And basically I was a hard worker and I reaped the rewards. I earned a shitload of money in the 80s under her, I have to say. But by the same token of earning a lot of money under her, I saw her selling off everything. I didn't understand the selling off of all the council houses, and when they were sold off, they then sold them on for even more money, and that inflated the housing market, which actually did help me because I already had a nice little 3-bedroom terraced house down Lovewell Road, number 27. They should put a blue plaque up for me. And anyway, I sold that. I bought it. I had a mortgage of £12,500, and I sold that for £45,000 2 years later, partly overinflating the house, but that did crash, remember? So I'm getting more on board with that lady. I was actually I was batting the wrong side when I was batting for Labour. As the lady says, she's not for turning. So shall we have a look at another one?
If you support the police, it's called right-wing. If you say you must uphold the rule of law, it's called right-wing. If you say that you want to sell council houses and you want to increase owner occupation, it's called right-wing. I want all of those things. If you say that you want to uphold standards in education and that children should be effectively taught and not just wait until they learn, then it's called right-wing. In those senses, yes. If you call that right-wing, I am right-wing, but I'm not as right-wing as 75% of the people of Britain. If you support the police...
Well, I'm right-wing, then everyone in the country should be right-wing. But now right-wing, as I said, I've not loaded this up. This is just on the greengrocer's daughters, the grocer's daughters page on Facebook. There's some actually good stuff. So, well, you know, because you're fucking watching it, eh? So that makes total and utter sense, doesn't it? But now, if you even mention anything against a certain minority, you're just right-wing. I am then right-wing. All right? I did say Paggy bashing. That was a thing, wasn't it, as well, under her? Paggy bashing. I mean, she was real. I don't mean she went out back. Can you imagine her with a handbag? This lady is not for turning. And smacking around people. There was a bad thing about the Pakistani bashing Muslims back in London. Then you had the Brixton riots. I actually went, I'll give you a quick short story. I went to Brixton in 1983 to a C&D rally, and we weren't allowed in any of the pubs, me and my mate Phil and Rupert. And we were starting to bubble because there wasn't a white fella around. I remember this big darky. He was a big guy. You can't come in here. And I went, why? You know, being a lippy 19, 20-year-old. And he went, we're shut. And I went, there's people in here. He went, you can't come in here, mate. And we walked off, and I sat down, and there's a picture of us. I call it a famous picture amongst me and my mates of sitting there outside a pub because we wouldn't get served, and all we wanted was a beer. And the funny thing was, we were staying at the bus stop to go to the tube station to get back to Lowestoft or get to the coach just outside London. Waffling now. And basically there was this little old lady, coloured lady, as black as they come, bless her, beautifully dressed, you know, in all the gear and the little hat, and she was with a very cute daughter. And the little old lady just started talking to us, said, hey, where are you from? We said, oh, Lowestoft, and oh, that's a funny accent. And had a good conversation. She said, I hope you enjoyed your stay in Brixton and everything, and we walked away, and we all looked at each other and said, I think it was for our safety against the other youngsters, and that lady stopped me becoming a racist, and it helped me to become Skins Hate the NF. All right, which I still am very proud of. We had some battles with him. Anyway, I'm getting a bit emotional now towards Maggie. Yeah, shall we do another one? What's she starting here?
I started life with two great advantages: no money and good parents. Now, no money can be an advantage because you've just all got to fight your own way. And good parents are the best advantage of all. I started life with two great...
So, I look at my mother and stepfather. They practically had nothing. I remember, as wicked as my stepfather is, I'd see him go out on his little Honda moped every morning to work in the factory that his father originally built up and then practically destroyed. And I can honestly say, hand on heart, my stepfather was a very hard worker. I say hard worker from behind the desk, but he was still very hard working. And my mum, she had a little haulage firm. In the 70s, they owned the CAF at Brook Marine. They also had a CAF at Richards Shipbuilders, both gone, of course, now it's all gone. But they were very, very hard workers, and I resonate with that. Fuck, I'm starting to sound like I'm a Tory. Should we have a look at another one? I think this is quite interesting. Oh, Labour.
Imagine a Labour canvasser talking on the doorstep to those East German families when they settle in on freedom's side of the wall. You want to keep more of the money you earn. I'm afraid that's very selfish. We shall want to tax that away. You want to own shares in your firm. We can't have that. The state has to own your firm.
Labour.
You want to choose where to send your children to school. That's very divisive.
Divisive?
You'll send your child where we tell you. Mr. President, the trouble with Labour is that they're just not at home with freedom. Socialists don't like ordinary people choosing, for they might not choose socialism.
Wow. Wow. You can't make this shit up, can you? And it's how she's talking now like she knows what Labour and Keir Starmer and all them other people are like today. Because that's now, isn't it? Far out. I want to marry the woman now. I did have her down as evil. Is this the same one as that one? Let's have a look.
New Labour, in its shrivelled heart, is embarrassed by our history, scornful of our achievement, oblivious of our legacy. They think that they
blood
can
on his
remove
hands,
Britain's
Blair she's talking
sovereignty,
about.
just as they put up Britain's taxes by stealth. They are wrong, but they are too arrogant and too remote to know it. New Labour, in its shrivelled...
Wow. Again. I've got no words, because that again is absolutely true, and that's what they're doing even more today. And what she's not talking about, obviously, there is what they actually take away from the ordinary working classes, which now that 5 billion, or is it 4-5 billion, taken away from the disabled people in the UK. They're take, cut, and that's Labour. Bloody, I've been a Labour man my whole life. Well, I even voted in Tony Blair until now. I call him blood on his hands Blair because of that false war. He's not even a conservative. He's just a fucking cunt. And I don't say that word very often, but you know, every time I hear Tony Blair, the cunt word comes out, because he started destroying the UK, and he was the one that had that open policy for open borders to come into the UK, and he's not got any blame. He's got no blame to any of this. I now believe we need women like her. I really, really do. And I'm not talking about fucking Nigel, whatever his face is. I don't want to call him Nigel Havers. But he's an actor, isn't he? Let's do one more. I've got this one loaded. There's a reason. Let's have a look.
We must have continued economic growth in order to generate the wealth required to pay for the protection of the environment. But it must be growth which doesn't plunder the planet today and leave our children to deal with the consequences tomorrow. And second, we must resist the simplistic tendency to blame modern multinational industry for the damage which is being done to the environment. Far from being the villains, it is on them that we rely to do the research and find the solutions. It's industry which will develop safe alternative chemicals for refrigerators and air conditioning. It's industry which will devise biodegradable plastics. It's industry which will find the means to treat pollutants and make nuclear waste safe. And many companies, as you know, already have massive research programs.
Wow. Wow. She was on it back then, and she's obviously, maybe, I don't know if she's Prime Minister now or not, but she didn't look as frail as in that other one. She's still on it, eh? And it is industry, but then there is the other side of the Elon Musk industry, isn't it? All these electric cars that we know are absolutely fucking shit for the planet, shit on the environment. I did a piece on that, you must probably miss because you don't watch and keep following. But there was a whinge, Les. But basically, he cut down 250,000 trees to build another car plant in Germany. Yeah, you can't make this shit up. This is all fucking true. So, common sense. She always seems to have common sense, didn't she? I don't know, she had common sense. What's this one? There are too many people. There are too many people imagine that there is something sophisticated about always believing the best of those who hate your country and the worst of the... I'm going to read that again. That sounds... And it's... There are too many people who imagine that there is something sophisticated about always believing the best of those who hate your country. And wow! And the worst of the... So we're supposed to hate our country. I'm white. Well, I'm not white. I'm some colour. But I'm... Alright, I'm called white. And I've got to be ashamed of being British because of our British history. Fuck off. I ain't ashamed of none of it. Because, well, maybe a little bit in India and a few other things. And yeah, there's a few bits. But every single country has got its history. But our country, for some reason, has got to be the worst. Oh, look, she's looking a bit older there. Let's have a little look.
Freedom can also be lost little by little by what the patriots call the doctrine of gradualness. A little more taxation here, a little more expenditure there, year after year, until the people are no longer the masters of the state, but its servants. There are always, it seems, good reasons advanced for the state to have more power, but rarely for the state to divest itself of power. It is possible to browbeat or cajole people to accept restrictions on their basic freedoms for a while. But deep down, there is something in every man or woman which longs with an unquenchable longing to speak and act freely.
There you go. Wow! Makes me feel a little bit emotional thinking about it. I could go on. There is a lot I have not seen. There's an awful lot what that lady said. That now, let's have a look. What's this one?
You know, you do have to fight to keep freedom. Because there are always people who say, oh, give a little bit more power to government, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more. Then one day, you've got so many people employed by government that they have a vested interest in keeping more and more power in the hands of government, and less in the hands of people. No, it shall not be. The governments are there to serve the liberties of the people, not to restrict them. You know?
Well, I think that's the end, eh? What I'm just gonna play this little clip just to finish off on. This is Newcastle winning whatever fucking stupid cup they won. Just have a quick squiz. I'm gonna put the camera in on it and then we'll finish. If people were passionate about their actual country and about their actual culture and about the politics that's going on in their country as they are about this fucking football, it's a round ball, right? It's got air in it, it's leather, they're overpaid and they're seriously passionate about it. What's that going on? Look at that. If people was truly passionate about looking after their culture and looking after their heritage and their country, and they looked into it like they do with this fucking stupid football, which we know now is a distraction and governments love distractions, the country would be different than it's actually gone down that road. And if you look now, Maggie Thatcher, I'll put it back on its stand. If you look back at Maggie Thatcher, she was right. And I have to say right now, hand on heart, if she was around, I'd vote for her. I really would vote for her. There's other stuff about the European Union. She hated the European Union. She knew that that wasn't a democracy and she knew the way that was heading. She was a true British woman. And I feel a little bit ashamed that I actually went against that lady and voted against that lady. Remember, her own party voted her out, brought in John Major. He then fucked everything up, and then we had the Tony Blair years who made it even worse. So I figured somewhere down the line, the Tory party, which we now know has imploded, they're practically going to be gone at the next election. It started, as far as I'm concerned, when they kicked out her core value and being a proud Brit. And she says, doesn't she, that work hard, the rewards will come your way. Now if you work hard, the fucking Labour government will tax the fucking shit out of you. I'm not saying I agree with everything with Maggie. I don't necessarily agree. I do agree that everything shouldn't be state owned. She sold off the railways, I remember that, and then later on that arsehole, I'm not going to mention him on it. No, should I? No. He bought one of the railways from Virgin, did some work for him, very handsomely paid, I have to say, but I did some work for him, and when he bought the railway, he said we can't sustain that, and then he asked for a government handout, and Labour Party gave him money to repair the railways. The whole point of selling the railways was that the government didn't intervene and help. Anyway, another arsehole. Richard Branson, you might think he's nice, his PR team thinks he's nice, he's a fucking arsehole. So, that's it. I am now a Maggie Thatcher. I need to get a Maggie. I've got about 150 t-shirts. I now need a Margaret Thatcher t-shirt. And she does say the lady's not for turning, and she was actually talking to the European Union at the time that she is not going to backtrack and appease these fucking arseholes, which the rest have done. And subsequently John Major, then you can go through it, can't you? John Major, you can go through Tony Blair. From Tony Blair you had Gordon Brown after Tony Blair fucked off because he knew he was was he voted in was it 2001 I think. He was voted in as the most unpopular Prime Minister ever in the votes, and he knew it. Caused wars, which he did, and they're still resonating to this day, but he goes out on a circuit like Jacinda does in New Zealand, and they go around making fucking shitloads of money saying how great they are when they actually fucked everything up. From Tony Blair, as I said, Gordon Brown, another fucking arsehole, and it's continued. Theresa May, I did have with Theresa, I'm not even going to mention the other one before, that fucking man, he's a fucking arsehole. Put Brexit in place, didn't he, David Cameron? And then when it didn't go his way, felt like a little baby and fucked off rather than deal with it. He put it in place. He put it in place and then fucked off. So, poor Theresa May, I did quite like her. I thought she was at least trying. Then that poor other lady who lasted a month, bless her. She's still bleating and writing books about it. And we're now stuck with what we got. We've now stuck, literally with Keir Starmer, who is a communist, no two ways about it. I've now said to myself, socialism is communism. It's owning everything and then the state tells you what to do. And I never understood that until this day. About 3 days, that's why I thought I'd do this on it. Tell me what you think. Because I know plenty of people out there that were Tories, that they went against the Tories, and now when you look at it, Tories, they're gone. Nigel Farage, he's old school Tory, isn't he? I'm now waffling to get my head round all of this. So Nigel Farage would have been good friends with Maggie Thatcher because they're basically talking on the same lines. He talks like her, doesn't he, about immigration and taking back control. Not just the immigration is a wider area to look at. I'm a fucking Tory. Liz, I'm a fucking Tory. Well, I'm an old Tory, not a new Tory. I'm an old Tory. Anyway, if you want to leave a comment below, please leave one and let's have a discussion.
I give you a toast, ladies and gentlemen. I give you a toast, ladies and gentlemen. May this fair land we love so well in dignity and freedom dwell. The worlds may change and go awry, while there is still one voice to cry. There'll always be an England while there there's a country lane, wherever there's a cottage small beside a field of grain, there'll always be an England while there's a busy street. Wherever there's a turning wheel, a million marching feet. Red, white and blue, what does it mean to you? Surely you're proud, shout it aloud, Britain's awake. The Empire too, we can depend on you. Freedom remains, these are the chains nothing can break. There'll always be an England, and England shall be free. If England means as much to you as England means to me.